Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be testing out a new sketchbook. I got this sketchbook online a couple months ago from Typo, and it's to replace my current A3 visual diary because I found that the A3 is a bit big for the moment. So I found this for $17, but I did not know what type of paper it had, so it was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, so the sketchbook has a red fabric cover and a red ribbon to mark where you're at. When I first opened up the book and felt the pages, I thought that it felt quite smooth instead of rough, but it ended up not handling markers very well. I'll tell you more about that later. It has perforated pages, which I'm not a big fan of, and they did not list this on the website, or as far as I could see, they did not list perforated pages. So yeah. I first sketched out pretty much everything I wanted to doodle on here. Like, this test page is just to test out different materials that I'm probably going to use in it. So I tested out Copics, felt tip markers, watercolor pencils, and Posca paint pens and fine liners. So yeah. First impressions with the pencil that I was using. It's a mechanical pencil by Stabilo in 2B, I'm pretty sure. It worked pretty okay. There were times when lead would smudge very easily and it'd be very hard to get those smudges off. Using the Tombow dual brush pen to fine line or outline the title, it was pretty okay. It's just that it took the pen a while to dry. So now I'm using an outline fine liner for a bit. I did a couple of flowers in this area just to fill up some space. My first impressions of using the fine liner on it was pretty okay. It's just that when I started to layer a lot more, the paper started to sort of curl up and ripple away, so you just got to be careful about that. And yeah. So now I'm sketching in some koi fish, and with drawing like animals and people, you need like just structural shapes to guide you. And so when I tried to erase these structural shapes and like a few lines here, I found that it was very hard to completely erase them. So there was a few like residues left behind. But otherwise it worked pretty well, and when I was done I used my watercolor pencils to just color them in a bit. So before coloring in the koi fish, I did fine line them, but this time I used a Unipin fine liner, one of my favorites. What I found was that it was pretty much the same as the art line, it's just that with layering it did destroy the paper a bit. So yeah, especially had troubles with the eyes because the eyes were completely black and it was just a bit like annoying to color them in. So now on to actually coloring in the doodles. So I started off the flowers and I used Copics for them, and what I found with the Copics was that there was a lot of bleeding, so oftentimes I had to stay a couple millimeters away from the outlines, but most of the time that still did not work. It was easier to blend for some reason. I guess that's because the ink somehow stays wet for a bit longer on the paper. I'm not too sure how that works. With the hexagons at the top, I did like use dark and light blue, but I think those markers were a bit dried out, so yeah. What I found also was that the Copics were a lot darker on this paper instead of the Express-It blending card, which I found a bit problematic for color choices. So here I'm using a felt tip marker and it ripped up the paper a lot, so yeah, I'm not going to use that. Here I'm doing the watercolor pencils and I'm just using a water brush pen to activate them. They were very easy to activate, it's just that it's very hard to keep blending them and reactivating it, because with these pencils I can normally reactivate them like once or twice, but otherwise it did not damage the paper that much. And here I'm doing another Copic test, and you will see that it's actually pretty easy to blend these Copics, but you also see how much bleeding there is. Now with this blue test, I think that the light blue color is like pretty much out, so I think that's why I couldn't blend very well. So like I said, this page is meant to be full of doodles for me to test out my materials, and one of the materials that I tested out was my Posca paint pens. So in this row of books here, I just used Posca paint pens to color them in. What I did find was that they ripped up the paper a lot, even though I went like quite lightly and like sort of pumped out more ink so then it flows even more, but it really ripped up the paper and I was not very happy with it. So yeah. So one last thing I ought to mention with the Copics is that they bled through a lot. This is the first page after like this cover page sort of thing, and the Copics like bled through to the cover, like the piece of paper on the cover. So you can see on the left there, that's how much it bled through. And you can also see that this page is about to fall apart, and yeah, and as I was just like sort of tugging at it, it really just came out really easily. So yeah, what I ended up doing was that I taped it in because I did not want it to be loose leaf. And there you go, that's the end result. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Apologies for my voice, I'm a bit sick at the moment, but I'm getting through it. And also apologies for my wacky upload schedule. I've been trying to keep it consistent once a week, but a lot of school assessments have just popped up and a lot of homework has just been dumped onto me, so I'm sort of trying to get it back on track. So hit that subscribe button if you want to, smash the like button, and also comment down below what you want to see next. My last video is on the top right hand corner, and see what YouTube recommends to you on the bottom right hand corner, and I'll see you guys in the next one.